economy.
Yeah, this is a new report from the ratings agency Standard & Poor's, which says that France's economic recovery is still fragile. S&P pointing to weak exports and high unemployment as the two drags on growth. This, the latest report from the ratings agency, gives a new forecast for growth in France. 0.7% is all the economic growth they see for this country next year. That's less than the 0.9% predicted by the French government. Now, it will increase slightly in 2015, but those figures are lower than they had been previously. S&P also says that consumption is expected to slow in 2014 as increased taxes takes their toll on consumer spending.
And that news comes as the French carmaker Peugeot-Citroen announces its results.
Yeah, that's right. It's not good news for them either. PSA, the company that owns the Peugeot and Citroen brands, announced a 3.7% fall in revenue in the 3 months to the end of September. That's largely down to a fall in European car sales, down almost 11% so far this year. This comes as the carmaker is agreeing a new competitiveness pact with its workers, as Josh Vardy now explains.
An increase to the east for PSA Peugeot-Citroen. The French car manufacturer saw Chinese sales jump by 28% in the third quarter. However, European figures aren't quite so rosy, with an 11% drop across the continent. The company's been attempting to tackle its dwindling fortunes in the West for some time. Last year, they agreed a so-called competitiveness pact with employee unions. Under the deal, which is due to be signed later in the week, their workers agree to work more and earn less, meaning a guarantee from the company that their jobs will be safe. Management say it's a win-win agreement, but some see it only as a temporary measure.
If we are sure that we will keep the jobs afterwards, there's no problem. We are ready to make concessions, but only on a short-term basis.
To help get back on its feet, the carmaker's also been seeking capital abroad. Discussions have been open with Chinese manufacturer Dongfeng and the French government, who've offered a deal whereby each would invest up to €1.5 billion. However, such a deal would mean the Peugeot family being effectively bought out of the company. France's Minister for Industrial Renewal, Arnaud Montebourg, emphatically denied on Tuesday that any international company would take control of PSA Peugeot. He says the company will stay a French name based in France.
Now, slightly better news for workers at the threatened Goodyear factory in northern France. The American tyre company Titan has confirmed it's made an offer to partially take over the plant near Amiens. France's Industrial Renewal Minister Arnaud Montebourg is to brief unions later on the details of the deal, which is expected to save around 300 of the 600 jobs there. It's a turnaround for Titan CEO Maurice Taylor, who blasted the French workforce at the plant for being lazy after visiting the factory earlier this year.
So how do the markets take all that news, Stephen?
Well, a sea of red as markets open in Europe this morning. The European Central Bank has just announced also that it's to start its assessment of 128 of Europe's largest banks, which will last for the next 12 months. This is part of its role as Europe's new banking supervisor. That's hitting shares too, those shares, just for example, in two of the banks that it will be examining, France's BNP Paribas and Société Générale, both down around 1% in trading in Paris this morning. Over in Asia, main indices also taking a hit in trading today. That's largely due to investors taking profits after the recent gains in shares that we've seen there. Some disappointing corporate results also weighing on the Chinese indexes. Let's move on now with a look at some of the day's other business stories. And JP Morgan may save up to $4 billion on a legal settlement with US regulators over mis-selling mortgage-backed securities. The investment bank is expected to be slapped with a $13 billion bill by the Justice Department, but thanks to a tax rebate, it may only have to pay out $9 billion.
Profits at the online retailer ASOS jumped 23% in the last year. The company made almost £55 million, or 67 million euros, in the year to the end of August. Revenues at the firm jumped 39% as sales increased in both its British and international markets.
And a federal court is to begin examining Detroit's application for bankruptcy later. Judge Stephen Rhodes will decide whether the city can restructure its debts of some $18 billion. The case is pitting retired public workers and unions who are trying to save their pension funds against the city's emergency manager.
And finally, something for us all to aspire to. The top paid bosses in the United States earned $4.7 billion last year. Eye-watering, Stephen.
Yeah, not bad. This is according to a survey from GMI Ratings. For the first time, no CEO in their top 10 of American bosses earned less than $100 million a year. Top of the list, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. He earned $2.27 billion last year, the equivalent of $6 million a day. Not bad. He was followed by Richard Kinder from the energy company Kinder Morgan, who earned almost half that. And then further down the list, we can see Tim Cook of Apple, who earned $144 million almost, and Howard Schultz from Starbucks down at number 8 at a paltry $117.5 million. Not bad for a year's work.
Absolutely. And Stephen Carroll, thank you very much for that roundup of the business news here in France 24. Now it's time for our press review.